All right, Mike, you're good to go.
Okay, good morning. And I would like to call the meeting to order. It is 9:19 a.m. on Tuesday, April 4. Stephanie, would you please take attendance?
Of course, good morning. Ava Bermuda Zimmerman. Ava has not yet joined us. Britt Marie Cole Johnson.
Here.
Ellen McKitterick. Ellen has not yet joined us. Mike Soltis
Here.
and Holly Williams.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I would like to welcome and thank the members of the public for joining us this morning. The first item of business, I'd like to ask the committee for a review of the March 7, 2023 minutes and a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I will abstain since I wasn't at the meeting. Thank you. Moving to the next item, Michael, would you please provide an update on the proposed revisions to the consolidated policies?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. And good morning, everybody. Just a brief update today regarding those revisions to the consolidated policies. As you may recall, in the February board meeting, the board voted to post revisions for those policies for public notice and comment. The policies were primarily cleanup and corrections to language in the policies, more for consistency and clarity rather than significant changes to the process or procedures. So it included things like that remittance of contributions from employers means both providing the funds as well as providing information about what account to apply the funds to or what time frame to apply the funds to. Also, we removed language around the checklist as part of the claims process because we did not need that form any longer for any claims. And there were a few typos and other things of that nature that we included in that revision. So the notice and comment period ended on March 24th. And while we did receive several requests for a copy of the document, we didn't actually receive any comments or questions from the public. So as a result, we do not have any recommended changes to the policies that were shared previously in February. Our plan is to ask the board to officially adopt the policy revisions in next week's board meeting. But before then, obviously, I'm happy to take any questions or comments from the committee.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Michael on the policies? I think we've previously discussed these, so since there was no public comment, I'm not sure there's much more to add unless somebody has a question or comment. Okay, hearing nothing, shall we move to the next item? Michael, will you please report on activities relating to the private plan audits?
Absolutely. Thanks again. Possibly a shorter update than the previous one. So last month, the board officially adopted the private plan audit guide. So now we have an official audit process document, and we are moving along with our preparations for actually auditing these private plans. We have identified 3 employers that we'd like to start off with. One employer we're going to have as an application audit, so the application process for their private plan. The second employer contributions audit, so making sure the contributions that are taken from employees are appropriately taken. And then the third would be a claims audit for that third employer. The employers were selected random-ishly. I say ish because we did put certain parameters around that sample. So for example, we wanted to avoid in the application audit having an employer who applied for the private plan in Q1 2021. Because it involves asking employees, what do they remember about the vote in the process? Mm-hmm. So we didn't think we get helpful responses if they had to recall what happened over 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So we sort of eliminated that from the sample, at least for this go around. And similarly, we also wanted to avoid the same insurance carrier or TPA from being forced to participate in many audits at the same time, because it can kind of be unfairly interruptive to their business. So we sort of adjusted the sample size to avoid those circumstances. Those parameters are just what we set for this round of selections. They're not locked in, but they seem kind of reasonable for us, at least for now. We're trying to be fair in the process and can adjust as needed going forward. Also, because not all audits will be random, some audits may be the result of complaints that we receive. Those parameters would obviously not apply to the non-random audit selections. So we haven't sent out any notices to employers just yet. We do intend to send them out soon, if not this week, then certainly by mid-month. And even though we did perform one test run of the actual private plan audit during the development process, we do expect to continue to have lessons that we learn throughout the whole process, both around the audit itself, what documents we ask for, the timing, but then also about the amount of time that it takes us to perform these audits, because we want to better understand our capacity to perform the audits going forward. And by capacity, I literally just mean how many audits can we reasonably perform in, say, a given year. Beyond that, no specific updates for the private plan audits, other than to say that we are moving forward and we expect the audits to begin in May, if not earlier. So once again, happy to take any questions or comments that the committee has.
Okay, any questions or comments for Michael on the private plan audits? Hearing nothing, I just have one question. You had referred to employee complaints. You know, you may get audit a company as a result of complaint. Just curious, have we received any employee complaints of employer non-compliance?
I have not been forwarded any. Some of them may come through our legislative escalation process, which I'm not necessarily always a part of. So I don't know, Aaron, have you heard any complaints from employees about private plans?
Not about private plans. We certainly have heard some situations where employees feel that their employers aren't working quickly enough to get the documents together. But on the private plan side, we have not heard any issues. We just recognize that that is a potential situation that we're we planned for, and when, as part of the new website update, we're kind of making sure that people know how to submit those to us if it comes up. But for this round, it'll just be, auditing based on the parameters that Michael described.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments on private plan audits? Okay. Moving to our next agenda item, Madeline, welcome. Would you please provide us an update on the activities at the legislature?
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. You can see my screen there?
You can see your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So good morning, everyone. I'm Maddie Granado, and I joined Connecticut Paid Leave as our Government and Community Relations Manager about a month ago this week, actually. So I will provide just a quick update on where we are right now in the legislative session and what we're working on. So right now we are, I think, more than halfway through session. By now, public hearings have passed and almost all committees have wrapped up their work except for the Appropriations Committee and the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee, who will work until mid-April to craft a budget and a bond package. We are tracking several bills that relate to paid leave and could potentially impact our work in some way. But today I'll just highlight really two bills that we're pretty closely monitoring. The first is Senate Bill 1179, which Aaron discussed in greater detail at last month's meeting. Senate Bill 1179 takes a few steps to really clarify some provisions of the law. It defines municipality for both Connecticut Paid Leave and FMLA. It creates a procedure to enable tribes to participate in Connecticut Paid Leave. And then it also clarifies the provision in the law regarding employer-provided benefits like short-term disability and how they interact with Connecticut Paid Leave. So Aaron testified to the Labor Committee in support of 1179 on March 9th. And the bill was JFS'd by the Labor Committee on March 23rd. JFS means Joint Favorable Substitute, or the committee voted to move forward, basically an amended version of the bill. The second bill that we are closely monitoring is Senate Bill 1223, an act concerning the State Contracting Standards Board, which expands the power and authority of the State Contracting Standards Board and, among several other provisions, gives the board pre-approval authority over any proposed contracts that it deems to be a privatization contract. Similar legislation was introduced last year in the years prior as well. Aaron testified in opposition to Senate Bill 1223 on March 20th. The bill was JFS'd by the Government Administration and Elections Committee, GAE Committee, on March 24th. So we are closely monitoring this bill, and we continue to talk with legislators about how it'll impact us and the ability to do our work. Lastly, we are just really continuing outreach to the legislature to make sure that they know about paid leave, right, and are aware of our work. We also are making sure that they know that we're available to meet with them directly to answer any questions or really serve as a resource to them and their constituents. Aaron did a really great Facebook Live conversation with Senator Martha Marks of the New London area on March 15th. It was a great discussion that covered a lot of ground, from the basics of the program to just answering some questions that came up. We are also distributing a monthly newsletter to the legislature. The most recent newsletter was sent on March 28th. It included a brief introduction to me and my contact information, as well as some different resources and ways to connect with us. We also provided an updated slide deck to the governor's office and the appropriations committee chairs about the status of claims, contributions, and outreach and education efforts. We are planning to present something similar to the Progressive Caucus on April 14th. And we're also in the process of updating our legislator toolkit, which is a resource for them to easily learn more about paid leave and educate their constituents. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Madeline? Madeline, I have a question for you. So with 1179, one of your bullets talked about the interaction with disability benefits, employer provided disability benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've read the paragraph on that. Can you explain what issue that is trying to address? What would change if this were enacted?
Yeah, so Aaron, okay, I will answer. Yeah, the language is addressing the fact that I can send you our slides from the March meeting that has a little bit more detail about the bill and that provision specifically. But it's basically trying to address employees going to apply for paid leave who also receive a short-term disability program from their employers and are shocked to find that they're receiving less than they thought they would, right? So if a short-term disability program says that they'll provide 60%, they're counting paid leave as that 60% and are not kind of capping off their wages. Aaron, yeah.
So employers are, if they're saying 60%, employers are saying the 60% is going to come from paid leave and we will supplement up to the 60%.
Up to the 60%. But if
Okay.
paid leave gets to 60, the employer says we don't pay anything.
Okay, and how would this change that?
Right. It would say employers cannot take credit for the benefits provided by the employee-funded Connecticut Paid Leave Program, unless it's necessary to make sure that employees do not get more than 100% of their wages while they're out.
So you know what my initial reaction to that is? And keep in mind, I represented employers for 40 years. I would just cut out the disability benefit. For
So,
employees.
I mean, that's people are saying that that's a risk. But the issue that has come up and the reason that we testified in support of 1179 is, first, with the language of the original bill talked about getting benefits concurrently between the paid leave program and the employer program. And so if you assume that you're going to provide concurrent benefits, we believe that the legislature thought that the employees would be able to get both. The second issue is employers are still paying less because we exist. So prior to our existence, employers who offered short-term disability we're paying for coverage up to 60%. So that costs them a certain amount of money. Now, because we exist, employers, even if they offered wraparound coverage, would pay less than they used to pay. So there's still a value to providing benefits to their employees, because short-term disability usually goes longer than the 12 weeks, and they may want to offer the top-up. So it's not. So I don't really understand if an employer says it's worth it to me to make sure that my employees are going to be made whole or close to whole. And I want to show that I'm a really good employer and encourage employees to come to me instead of going somewhere else. They should still be able to do that. What we've been hearing for the past year is even lots of employers don't know that the offset means that the employees don't get any. So, you know, I'm not sure that the automatic decision is, oh, I'm going to, even though it costs me less than it used to cost me, I'm going to go to zero.
So, and I noticed in the statute or in the bill, there's still a cap of 100%, right, an employee. So which benefit do you count first? The paid leave or if the combined put them over 100%,
right?
Which one pays less, the employer's plan or the Connecticut paid leave plan?
So the statute is silent, and there's nothing in this bill that would change that silence, which means it's up to the employer or the contract to determine who's primary and who's secondary.
Okay.
Virtually every insurance policy and self-administered plan we've seen for the past 15 months has made the authority primary. So they send their employees to us to pay first, and then they'll pay second. And that, again, I don't think I've seen a single. I know we had various entities kind of talked about whether they were required to or not. There may still be a few self-administered plans that offer primary, but we just don't see it. They're almost all secondary, but it's up to them. It's their choice.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Madeline, if you could send those slides, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. Any other questions or comments on the legislative update? Okay, hearing nothing, we will move on. Old business. Is there any old business anyone wants to raise? Hearing nothing, moving to the next item, new business. Any new business anyone wants to raise? Okay, moving right along. May I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. It is 9:37 a.m. Thank you for your time this morning and our efficient review of the agenda.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.